Hello Mila, hello Jack. Hello everybody else who's watching, and welcome to Storytime with Grandad. Today's book is Fireman Sam Smells a Rat. It was the start of another day in Pontypandy. The sun was shining, the sky was clear and bright, and all the birds were singing. Fireman Sam got up and threw open the windows. "Ah," he said, taking a deep breath, "there's nothing like the smell of fresh air to wake you up in the morning." Sam got ready for work, checked that all his buttons were shiny, and that his hat was on at a jaunty angle, and set off for the fire station. As it was such a nice morning, he decided to set off earlier than usual and take a short stroll through the park. Being early, it was nice and peaceful in the park, and Sam quite enjoyed his stroll. He stopped by the flower beds for a moment to smell the flowers. He liked the flowers and wished he could stay longer, but he had to get to the fire station. On his way down the street, he passed Bella's cafe. Even though it wasn't open yet, he could smell the aroma of freshly baked cakes. His mouth watered just thinking about them, and he was sorry to leave the smell behind as he walked on. Station Officer Steele was also on his way to the fire station, but he didn't feel as happy as Sam. You see, he had a cold and it made him feel miserable. His nose was all blocked up and he had to keep stopping to blow it. "I can't smell anything," he moaned. "I can't even smell my prize roses." This made him feel more miserable than ever before, because he liked to smell them every day. Mind you, it also meant he couldn't smell the pile of manure nearby that he was going to spread on the roses to help them grow. When Station Officer Steele and Sam arrived at the fire station, they met Elvis Cridlington, who was carrying a book. "What are you reading?" asked Sam. "It's a cookbook," said Elvis proudly, "full of exotic and foreign recipes. I thought I might try one today. It'll make a change." "Anything will make a change if it's edible," grumbled Steele. So Elvis went into the kitchen with his cookbook. Steele went into his office with his cold, and Sam was thinking. The more he thought about Elvis and his exotic recipes, the more he thought about going to Bella's cafe for lunch, and about the mouth-watering smell that he had wafted from her kitchen. Meanwhile, at Mrs. Price's store, a package had arrived for her son, Norman. "At last," he said, mysteriously. Making sure he was alone, he tore off the brown wrapping paper to reveal a small cardboard box. He opened it. "It's my stink bombs," he exclaimed gleefully, and smiled a mischievous smile. Norman wondered what to do with them. Well, he knew what to do with them. It was just a case of where. A moment later, Norman chuckled to himself. "I know just the place," he said, scampering up the street towards the fire station. At the fire station, it had been a fairly quiet morning. Sam was snoozing, Steele was sneezing, and Elvis was doing his best with the exotic cooking. Naughty Norman crept into the station, and when he saw that there was nobody about, he let off one of his stink bombs by Jupiter's front tire. Norman ran off to watch from a safe distance. The stench from the stink bomb spread through the fire station, floating silently upstairs to where Sam was dreaming about Bella's cooking. Sam sniffed and awoke with a start. His nose wrinkled up. "Phew! What's that awful smell? Elvis, have you burnt the lunch again?" he called. "No, I haven't," said Elvis indignantly. "There's nothing wrong with—" Phew, what's that smell? They called Station Officer Steele, but he was next to useless. He couldn't smell a thing because of his cold. I think it's coming from downstairs, said Sam. He slid down the pole. Sure enough, the smell was stronger. Sam threw open the big fire station doors and opened all the windows. The awful smell soon began to disappear. Ah, that's better, sighed Sam. Nice fresh air. It was then that he spotted the remains of the stink bomb. He said thoughtfully. Norman crept away, sniggering. Norman crept around town all morning, letting off stink bombs and annoying people. Later, he boarded Trevor Evans's bus. Sarah and James, Fireman Sam's niece and nephew, were also aboard. Norman sat at the back of the bus, seeming very innocent. He waited until nobody was looking, then he let off a stink bomb. Phew, what's that smell? He said, pretending he didn't know what it was. Oh, it's awful, squealed Sarah. They went up to the front of the bus to get away from the smell, but it followed them. Goodness, cried Trevor when he smelt it. What's that? Trevor ushered the children out of the door, opened all the windows and got off the bus. They all had to sit by the side of the road and wait for the smell to disappear before they could get back on the bus and continue their journey. Norman was trying very hard not to laugh. When most of the smell had gone, everybody climbed back on board. Taking care to leave the windows open, the bus came round by the park, and naughty Norman got off and scurried away. Sarah and James thanked Trevor for the ride and went over to Bella's cafe. The smell still lingered in the bus, so Trevor called into Mrs. Price's store for something to disguise it. He picked up a can of air freshener. You know, it's a funny thing, said Mrs. Price. I've been doing a roaring trade in air fresheners today. Suddenly, everybody wants air fresheners. Can you imagine? Trevor said he could. Meanwhile, Sarah and James were in Bella's cafe. They took a long time to choose what they wanted from the menu, while Bella waited patiently. Well, what do you have? She asked finally. We'll have 2 ice cream sodas and 2 cream cakes, please, said James. While Sarah and James sat down at one of the tables, Bella pottered around in the kitchen. It was there that she smelt a funny smell. She switched the cooker off and looked in the oven. It's certainly not my cakes, she said, but she couldn't think what else it could be, and the smell was getting stronger. Bella went back into the cafe. Sarah, James, she said, there's a funny smell in my kitchen. Will you go and fetch your Uncle Sam for me? Maybe he will know what to do. Sarah and James could see that she looked worried, so they hurried off at once. Sarah and James ran up the road to the fire station. Uncle Sam, they cried. You must come quickly. Bella says she can smell something funny in her kitchen. Aha, said Sam, thinking back to the stink bomb he found. So the stink bomb phantom is at it again, is he? Fireman Sam pressed the alarm button. The bells rang and Elvis and Station Officer Steele came sliding down the pole. They were in such a hurry that Elvis almost forgot he was still wearing his kitchen apron. Come on, said Sam. Bella's got a smelly problem down at the cafe. They all climbed into the fire engine, and with the bells ringing, they raced through the streets to Bella's cafe. When they got there, Bella was standing outside on the pavement, still looking worried. What's the matter, Bella? Asked Sam. It's the smell. It's getting so bad, she replied. Sam poked his head round the cafe door. gingerly and took a gentle sniff. His nose twitched as he tried to identify the smell. He soon realised that it wasn't a stink bomb. It was something else. He went back and had a quiet word with Station Officer Steele. "Everybody back now," said Steele importantly, making sure they stayed away from the cafe. "We've got a gas leak." Sam opened one of Jupiter's lockers and was putting on a fireman's gas mask. "Cara mia," exclaimed Bella when she saw him. "Don't worry, Bella," said Steele. "Sam will sort it out." Sam entered the cafe in his gas mask, carrying a bag of special tools. He walked behind the counter and into the kitchen beyond. He looked around, trying to find out where the leak was coming from. He heard a hissing sound coming from near the cooker. Sam knelt down by the cooker, and sure enough, he found the gas leak. The gas pipe was connected to the cooker, had a faulty valve. He put his special tool bag down and rummaged around in it. "Soon have this fixed," he said, through his gas mask. Sam pulled tools out of his bag. He twiddled and tightened. He banged and he clanged. He twisted and he turned, and soon he was satisfied. "There, it's fixed. It's as good as new now. It won't leak gas again." And he packed his tools away and went to tell Bella the good news. Meanwhile, around the corner at the general store, Mrs. Price watched the fire engines outside Bella's. "Goodness, whatever's going on?" she asked herself. There were people standing around on the pavement, and she couldn't see much from her shop door. So she wandered over to see what all the fuss was about. "Oh dear, what's happening, Bella?" asked Mrs. Price when she crossed the road. "They tell me I have a gas leak," sniffed Bella. "Fireman Sam's gone in to fix it. He should be out any minute." Mrs. Price craned her neck to see. Was that Sam coming out of the door now? Sam, in his gas mask, almost bumped into Mrs. Price when he came out. The sudden, unexpected sight of Sam in his mask frightened her. "Ah!" she screamed. It was difficult to tell who was the most startled, but it must have been Mrs. Price, because she fainted. Luckily Sam caught her. Steele grabbed the first aid box from the fire engine. "These smelling salts will bring her round," he said, waving a small bottle under her nose. Sam took his gas mask off so as not to give her another fright. "It's her own fault," laughed Steele. "She shouldn't be so nosy." "Oh, what happened?" asked Mrs. Price weakly when she opened her eyes. "You fainted," said Steele. "I remember," she said. "Something black and horrible." "That was my gas mask," laughed Sam, holding it up for her to see. Mrs. Price did feel silly, and she went bright red with embarrassment. While all this had been going on, naughty Norman had been watching from his hiding place in the park. "All those people," he chortled. "That's just the place to let off my last stink bomb." He wandered over as innocently as he could and took out his little cardboard box. "Hello, what's going on here?" boomed Station Officer Steele, walking up behind Norman and making him jump. "So, you're the culprit behind the foul smell in the fire station, are you? Just be thankful I couldn't smell it with my cold." And with that, he marched Norman off to his mother. Steele told Mrs. Price all about her son's antics and showed her the remaining stink bomb. Norman stood there looking very guilty, while his mother scolded him. "Whatever will I do with you, Norman Price?" she said. "If you'll pardon me," said Steele, "I can think of just the thing." They went round to Steele's house. "There," he said, pointing to a pile of manure. I want that lot spread on my noses. But it smells awful, squealed Norman. Then wear a peg on your nose, said Steele. So Norman did. And funnily enough, he never used stink bombs again. The end. Goodbye, Mila. Goodbye, Jack. I'll see you soon. Goodbye, everybody. Bye.